welcome to yet another episode of the Shinpat podcast. I'm Bala and Vignesh is alongside me as usual. This time we have invited yet another special guest, a very special guest who a lot of people might be aware of. People who know cinema will most probably be aware of this guest. He has been a movie critic for 20 years. He has also been a writer and he is a budding actor. So let us welcome Mr. Baradwaj Rangan to the Shinpat podcast. Hello, Mr. Baradwaj Rangan.
Thank you, Bala and Vignesh. Thank you for having me on your show. And I'm not a budding actor. I just want to make that clear. See, there are some people who come and say, like, will you do this small role? And I'm just like, okay, what the hell? I mean, just, sometimes you just have to do things to make life a little fun. That's all. So I don't really see myself becoming an actor or anything like that. But when somebody comes and asks you, you're like, okay, whatever. So,
yeah.
Yeah. And first of all, congratulations on completing 2 decades as a movie critic. 20 years is a really long time.
And a lot of bad movies.
Yes, a lot of bad movies. You started off with print media and then you expanded your reviews into your blogs, and you pretty much stayed put for more than a decade within those formats while your writing style was evolving. But then from 2016 and 17, you started doing video reviews. And in the last few months, you've also become a podcaster. How easy or tough has it been to adapt across these multiple formats while still staying relevant to the times?
I would say I adapted to these multiple formats to stay relevant with the times.
Okay.
Rather than that's the thing. Plus, I'm by nature a fairly like I like to keep doing new things. I get bored of things fairly easily. So like when I was in the Express and then in the Hindu, I was kind of just pretty much finding my voice. But even there, I was kind of getting a little because very frankly, you have to. There are only about so many films a year that you can write deeply and meaningfully about. Most of them, you just have to find different ways to keep saying it's not bad or it's bad. You just have to keep finding slightly different ways to keep the reading interesting. And that's something that I think I cracked while I was there, and it took a long time. But then I felt it was when I got the call from Film Companion, I thought it was time to kind of test this thing. I thought about it for a long time though, because I always thought that video was a young person's medium, and I was a little hesitant about that because like with all these kids around, will I make a presence or a splash or whatever it is? Solely from this is not from an ego point of view, solely from a career point of view. It's like will there be enough people watching me? Like, I know there are a lot of people reading me, but will there be enough people watching me? Like, when there are all these, yo type people around, will someone with my voice be accepted on video was the primary question, not anything else. But I think that journey is turned out fairly positive. And so then after that, I'm in Galata Plus now. And I've expanded to kind of interviewing people from across film industries as far as possible. So yeah, it's like each phase has added something to my the print phase got me my readership, and I grew that readership for about 10 years. And then when I went to Film Companions and started Film Companion South, that readership transferred over and became a viewership. Plus, I got in new audiences because there were lots of people who watch but don't really read. And then now with Galata Plus, earlier it was only the South or pretty much Tamil. Now I've gone across to other industries as well. So there's been an influx of new people there. And the podcast, when Spotify asked me, I said, sure, why not? It's like a thing. And before you ask me, how do you find the time to all this? I'm insanely organized. And I don't do social media. So those are the two things. So,
And yeah, congratulations on reaching 200K plus subscribers on Galata Plus.
Actually, that's not a big number at all. But but yeah, it
Yeah,
feels
but
nice. It's not really a great number or something like that. But it feels good to have it. Yeah.
yeah, for a channel that's still considered a bit niche, not the regular kind of stuff. It's a very good number.
Yeah.
And one more point with the evolution. I mean, to different forms and everything. You've faced a lot of criticism as well for your work consistently across the years and across formats. And for example, you faced a lot of flack for your J-Beam review.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
for Madras, you did receive a lot of criticism, but most of it was constructive. Like people were really ready to explain what the context behind the movie and everything. So, from the era of say emails and letters, and to the era of social media, how has criticism evolved?
You mean criticism of me or?
Yeah, both of you and by you, criticism, film criticism by you.
No, I see. I have not changed my way of film criticism at all. For example, when you take Madras, when Atakati released,
Mhm.
I did not slot it as a Dalit film because later a lot of people pointed out that there was a signifier that she asks if he wants to have beef curry or something like that, and
Yeah.
that means that they're Dalit. And like I didn't put the two and two together simply because I guess people who eat beef and who are not necessarily Dalit, and it's like, but apparently, in certain places, beef is equivalent to this. So then again with Madras, I actually had a chat with Ranjith about this, and I don't know if it came out in an interview or I think so. I think it did that. I think in the lights camera analysis of Nakshatram Nagargirada, I think I asked
Yes.
him this. I asked him, see, the thing is, Madras is, yes, in your eyes, you're telling a Dalit story, but the Dalitism, if you want to use that phrase, is not really explicit, and you're using things like he's reading a book or a picture of Ambedkar or a certain color or something like that. Now, I think the thing that I asked him, if I'm remembering, and correct me if I'm wrong, is I said, see, in Kabali, Rajini is shown reading My Father Balaya,
Yeah.
which is by a Dalit author. Uh, and but I could read like Karl Marx simply because I'm interested in Karl Marx, not necessarily because I'm a communist.
Yes.
That was my point to him, which is like, yes, I understand that you're trying to signify because you don't want to like openly, say things in a country, in a state where declaring a film as a quote unquote Dalit film is still kind of, it's not
It's very
really easy. it's not
yeah.
it's not really easy because it could cause problems at other places. So I completely get that, right? I completely get that. But when you look at a Sairat, for instance, it's very, or a Fandry, which are
Yeah.
Nagaraj Majli's films, they're explicitly Dalit films. Because the character, there's no doubt about the character at all. Whereas with Karti, for instance, in Madras, I don't know, he could be any person, like a youth, like you identify him as a youth. At least I identified him as a youth. So when I do that, I do introspect when people point it out. But for me, that if it stands, I'm able to buy the criticism and
Yeah.
see the point of it. I take it properly. But
Yes.
here I would say I did not understand what Ranjit was trying to say, sure.
Yeah.
But I also do not subscribe to the fact that certain, uh, for example, if somebody cracks a complex equation on a board in like 50 seconds or something like that, some like you see in those, movies about geniuses and something like that, then it's very obvious that they're a mathematical genius, right? It's like that's there's no disputing that because the very fact that they're able to do that. But when it comes to reading and things like that, uh, reading a book or using other signifiers. Whereas in Nakshatram Nagargirada, he had actually, there was so much discussion about Dalits and Ilayaraja and this and that, and like there was no mistaking where that movie came from.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt that, and I still feel that, because the first thing I did when all the criticism came from Madras was I went and saw it again, because I was like, oh my God, how could I miss such a huge whole kind of, I mean, like such a huge thing. But then the second time I saw it, I again, okay, this time I saw it with that lens, that looking
Yeah.
out for certain things. But that's again like that, like in that J Beam, the criticism came for the showing that symbol of a particular community, right? In
Yes.
a
Yes.
calendar. Now,
Yes.
a lot of people may not be aware of that symbol of that calendar, that denotes a particular community, and B, even if it's on the wall, it's a calendar. So, like, I don't know, I don't know if instantly points to somebody being of a particular community.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I also think maybe, I live near the Velankani church. So like when we were kids, we used to go and light candles in church, as like when the yearly festival used to happen and all that. So like I don't necessarily separate, uh uh like if somebody is this, then they're only that.
Yeah.
But then I now I know for sure that, like, when I see a Nachatram Nagargiradhu, or when I see a Sarpata, where there are, Ranjith himself has begun to incorporate more and more, he's gone beyond the symbolism and,
Yeah.
become more obvious, I guess, which helps, I think. But this is not to say that I was right in reviewing Madras that way. I'm not saying that. I'm not defending what I did. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that, like, I look for certain things that that see, because ultimately the way you receive a film is about interpretation, right? Because
Yeah.
no filmmaker is whispering in your ear and saying, this scene is this scene is that scene is this, this is the meaning of this, that's the meaning of that. It's ultimately a communication that you're having with whatever is being shown on screen. So when that communication it gets through. And I have a lot of films where I've done a lot of subtext reading and things like that. In this particular case, I missed that subtext, which the director said. So when that happens, and when people point it out, I make it a point to say, file it away in my mind and say, yes, this is something I need to keep in mind, because this filmmaker style is, at least earlier on, is not to be explicit about certain things. But
Yeah.
I think the first time you saw a very pointed, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, thing is when, in Ranjit's film, is when Nana Patekar refuses to drink water in Rajnikant's house. I
Yes.
think that was the first time you actually saw like something very like open, till then I don't think there was that thing. I think by then Ranjit, I think, had also gotten over that initial, wanting to hint at but not really state. Like I think, but the thing is, I really think he's a, he's, even in Madras, when I wrote the review, I thought it's a fabulously made film. He's a
Yeah.
fantastic filmmaker, and Atakati is also a very fabulously made film. And regarding Jai Bhim, I think it's a very badly made film, and I do not just I do not like, in general, films that bludgeon us on the head with a message, or with the, like with kind of things and thing. But I think what I really felt very uncomfortable about Jai Bhim was, it started off as a film about these tribals and then turned into a hero slash savior story. And
Yeah.
you know
Crusader kind of
sorry.
crusader savior kind
Yeah,
of movie.
Crusader. Yeah. So it's like it became Surya story, and slow motion shots, and the, like, he wins everything. He doesn't have a moment of doubt kind of thing. It became a very, like, a superhero saves the day kind of story. And that made me very uncomfortable, because after a while I felt that these guys were pushed to the margins of what what began as a story of these guys ultimately became
Yeah.
like about a superhero lawyer. And I thought that was kind of, really, you know, thing. And
Yeah.
plus, I thought the
Off-putting. Yeah.
filmmaking was very very, very basic and basically meant to, like, see, the thing is, if I pinch you, you are going to cry. But I
Yeah.
should be able to make you cry through cinematic means and not by reaching out of the screen and pinching you. That's
Yeah.
that's that's what I mean. So that's what I meant. And I know that even as I write certain things, I know that this is going to get in a way, the Jai Bhim review was a huge uh, like
Yeah.
self-development thing for me, because after that, I really became fearless.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because that 1 month or something like that, and that time I was still on Twitter. As in, I was still following Twitter. So I mean, it was like I was the wall and people are hurling dung at me. It was like that.
Yeah.
So it was like it just got to a point where I'm like, dude, this is a movie and this is an opinion. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's like, but all kinds of things were said, and this thing, and finally I was like, screw it. It's like, it's a free world, and now
Mm.
I can say whatever I want without fear. Not that I had
Yeah.
fear earlier, but earlier I might, there are certain issues where, see, frankly, because the quote unquote Dalit film is so new in the context of Tamil cinema, like in comparison to the rest of the thing, you
Yeah.
have to give it some leeway for the filmmakers to find a voice and all that. But I'm saying there's a fantastic film. See, Neelam Productions has Ranjith produces fabulous films. I'm talking about first time filmmakers. This guy called Tamir, he made a fantastic film called Setuman, which is about food politics.
Yeah.
This
It's on
guy
Sony
called
Live.
It's on Sony Live. This guy called Franklin Jacob, he made a super, super fantastic movie
Yeah.
called Writer, which is again a kind of Jai Bhim like territory, where I think, but they are so cinematic, they're so alive, they're so
Yeah.
well written. The characters are not one dimensional. There's no hero that saves the day. They're very real and rooted and everything.
Yeah.
In hindsight, maybe the like you can say that like okay, because Surya was cast in Jai Bhim, certain things had to be amped up or something like that. But I'm like, but then why
Why?
why didn't you why can't you make the same movie with in an authentic way with a smaller star, lesser star that does not come with that star baggage, where you can get away without showing slow motion, or that he single-handedly does everything. He has no assistants, he has no nothing. He just pretty much does everything by himself. I think that was the little, that was the thing that bothered me. And also the fact that when you look at Malayalam cinema, the same, very similar political context, they show it in such a good way. I think that's what really bothered me about Jai Bhim. But now it's, I don't know, are people still talking about it? I don't know. My review of Jai Bhim.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them do at on some. I mean, on occasions when some reviews come about.
Yeah, but I mean, see, ultimately, but one thing you have to understand, okay, it's like I am reviewing somebody's work. It's only fair that somebody reviews my work. And
Yeah.
then there'll be somebody who reviews that review of my work. So it's like a chain. So you can't see. One of the things I always tell my students is, one of the things about being in the public eye is that you're fair game for anything. As
Mm.
in, but don't expect things to be fair. You can't say, oh, this criticism was so unfair or something like that. You can't expect that. You have to be able to take it, because that's the job. That's part of the job description.
Mm.
So I would say that. And regarding my own film criticism, I don't think anything has changed, because I still follow the same philosophy. The language has definitely changed in terms of the writing. I try to be. I have consciously dialed down my language and tried to appeal to a larger audience. That's
Yeah.
definitely there. If you look at my older reviews, they are a lot more. Uh, 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 how do I put it? Sometimes I might even say a little. like, when you start off, you want to write, like, I don't know, the New Yorker or New York Times or
Yeah.
Guardian or whatever it is. You have these idols that you look up to, or Pauline Kael or whoever it is. You have all these idols, and see, ultimately, it takes you put all that inside you, and then a mixer blender thing happens, and then your own voice, subconscious, mixes with it, and finally your voice comes out. So I think now I have kind of, like, I mean, not now, but maybe about 10 years ago, I landed on that voice. And I do know that I'm able to write in a more accessible way now.
Yeah. Yeah, Bala started on the different formats. So we were talking about that. So slightly threading on the same topic, I just want to ask about your view on the mainstream directors in India. Have they become more one-dimensional? For example, we can hardly see few directors. Let's say Lijo Jose Palisher. He could make Churuli. He could make Nanpagal Nerathu Maikam. So in the sense, have the directors become afraid to explore more genres? Like Mr. Spielberg is a great example. He traverses through many multiple genres. There is practically nothing left for him to touch again. So even someone like K.S. Ravi Kumar from the previous generation used to shuffle between all these multiple genres with ease. So while there's nothing wrong in directors sticking to a particular genre or milieu, so why aren't our directors, let's say, not brave enough to try their hands at different multiple genres?
Uh, See, I think right now, see, Lijo is a niche case because you cannot club him with the others because he makes movies quickly, and also he's an author. He's kind of, his movies don't cost that much. Whereas when the minute you're looking at see, for example, before the Sivakarthikeyan is doing Island, which is a sci-fi movie. Uh, like so. I'm saying that the one-off things do happen. The one-off genres do happen. Like genre shifts. But the point is that even as an audience, there's a great fear as to A, whether the audience will accept it,
Hmm.
and B, whether you like a kind of a thing. As in post the pandemic, what are the movies that they will come for? Because if you look at it, the average Ajit Vijay film has not changed in template for the longest time. Like, there are probably two types of films. One is family oriented or one is action oriented. But otherwise, you're pretty much treading the same territory. The success or failure of the film comes from how well that particular film is made. But they're not really moving out of a particular comfort zone, because that's what audiences also want. It's like the Rajnikant phenomenon.
Hmm.
See,
Yeah.
Rajni is the kind of guy who developed his cult and his audience and his stardom by doing the same thing pretty much again and again and again. Which is not to say that the movie stories are the same, but like, there are a lot. He had a set of check boxes, which he kind of did that. Whereas with Kamal, he, from the early period, he became the genre. That is, people went to see Kamal's films to see how different is this Kamal from the previous Kamal film. What is the
Yeah.
new thing he's doing here? As opposed to like Rajnikant, where people went to see, oh wow, let's see another Rajni film. Like, I'm not saying one is good, one is bad or whatever, because you have to chart out a very clear path for yourself, and these guys did it that way.
Hmm.
But then if you take it, like I would say, like, that way, drama is the predominant genre that Indians enjoy. Mainstream Indians enjoy. Sci-fi, not so much. You have to really wrap it in a very kind of, or you have to make it like a low budget film, like Indian Eternale,
Yeah.
Hmm.
which thing, like, it'll be interesting to see how Ireland does, because it's supposed to be like a mega budget film and all that.
Side. Yeah.
So it just depends on what kind, but drama is the meat and potatoes of so-called, of the Indian film industry. Drama slash romance slash family slash action, whatever it is. uh Now Lokesh is doing pure action, like genre films.
Yeah.
But again, that's the slot he slotted himself in. So I don't know if he's interested in doing sci-fi or drama or whatever it is. He's kind of, we don't know yet. So I think people hesitate because of that, because movies cost a lot of money, and especially with Tamil filmmakers, I think they kind of uh, stick to largely emotional spaces,
Mhm.
which is drama.
Yeah.
And you name dropped a few people like Rajnikant, Kamal Hassan, and Lokesh Kanagaraj. So I'm just going to take off from there. Back in the day, directors used to be huge brands themselves. Like directors were stars as well. Even when the Shivajis and MGRs of the world were there was a K. Balachandar. People just came to watch movies because the movie was made by K. Balachandar. And after the emergence of, say, Rajnikant and Kamal Hassan, there were a few directors. Obviously, Maniratnam was there and he's still there, but that kind of directors becoming stars themselves drastically reduced. Only now we have these Ranjith, Vetrimaran, Lokesh Kanagaraj type of directors who are slowly starting to become brands themselves. Like Viduthalai, for example, opened like a big movie because it was directed by Vetrimaran. There was pretty much no other X factor attached to it. So, how do you see this trend? There is still a huge imbalance regarding that, like star directors becoming a bigger brand.
See, one thing it's a fairly complicated answer, and I'm sorry, I'm like giving all these big answers. I just like
No, we
if
are
you wanna.
enjoying it actually.
See, when you see the average person is only interested in the star.
Yeah.
This is true of when Tyagaraja Bhagavathar is a star. Name one Tyagaraja Bhagavathar film where you know the director. Even
No.
fans of Tyagaraja Bhagavathar will not know the name of the director. So, like similarly, take the next generation. When you're talking about like 50s when Shivaji MGR came, or the 60s when Ajay Shankar, Muthuraman, Shivakumar, all those people came, or the 70s when Kamal Rajni came. Very few directors actually made a mark in terms of like a thing. Like ask the average person who made Anbeva, they won't know. They won't be able to say the name of the director. They'll say MGR Padam.
Yeah.
Because that's what they come. See, the thing is, there's a reason the face on the poster is always that of the hero, heroine, maybe MN Nambiar, whatever it is for those films, because that's what people come for. Which is, and also because directors those days were fairly anonymous people who were basically traffic policemen. They just pretty much like, okay, let's take the shot, let's take that shot. They were not really interested, with the exception of, let's say, a Sridhar or something like that. They were not really interested in the art of direction. They were not really well versed in cinema. They were more like, I have a script, let's get the job done. Let's take these shots and let's get the job done. Like that's what the majority of the people were. So which is why when you see a Sridhar and suddenly you see like fairly complex camera moves that actually, like in that when in Nenjilor Alayam, when the camera goes under the hospital bed and sees Devika in that Sonnathu Nidana song and all that, even the average person knows that, oh my god, the camera is doing something. It's you don't have to be, it's not like like an invisible tracking shot or something like that, where only if you really pay attention you'll be able to see it. This, even the average person will say, oh my god, the camera was like above the bed and now it's like gone under the bed and it's looking at her through there. So they're suddenly seeing something like even if they're not able to put a name to it. So that's when a director becomes like a thing. I mean, there are some lovely tracking shots that Sridhar has done, which is like, there's I forget which one, but I think there's a Vijay Kumari movie where there's a beautiful pan from like an open window to a door kind of a thing. It's such an elegant shot. He's a very elegant filmmaker for that time. So I think some people started noticing the odd directors like that, but because there were so few and far between, the stars still were pretty much the people who became the names, right? So now you're talking about Balachandar. Again, he had to differentiate himself in order to become a director. So all the directors that you talk about, whether it is Balachandar or Maniratnam or Gautam Menon or Shankar or now Ranjith or Vetrimaran or something like that, all of these people offer a glimpse of something that other people do not.
Yeah.
So because that quality becomes recognized as a directorial touch of that particular director. So that's when people realize that, okay, this guy is doing something very different. This person is doing something very different. So like that's what happens. So when you look at the earlier films, you're talking about like this is one thing when like today, like so many people talk about Aval Appaditan by Rudraya, but the film was a big flop when it was released. So like nobody went. It had Kamal, it had Rajni, it had Sripriya. The three top stars of, like, I mean, only Sridevi wasn't there. If she had been there, it would have been all the top stars of Tamil cinema of that time. The two top heroes, the two top heroines. The movie flopped because it's just kind of a thing. So the thing is, it's the directors become known now. More and more directors are coming in that understand what directing means. They know how to think, and somehow subconsciously the audience is also able to like even if they're not able to name it, they're able to sense it. And I think that's why directors are getting known increasingly now. Plus, now you have a more literate cine audience where they're able to say things like, I mean, they still say a lot of like things that I think are very unsubstantiated, especially when it comes to things like editing and cinematography and all that. I don't think you get many informed views, but at least they're able to like talk about things that they understand that the whole movie comes under a director. Earlier it would be like, see that today, like there are very specific things, like a director saying things like, I want music in this space, but then here I want silence, but then here I want music, but then here I want silence, or whatever it is. Like in the earlier days, nobody would have done all this because they would have just said, this is the music director's department and they'll do that. And this is the editor's department and they'll do that. And this is the costume department and they'll do that. And this is something else. But now the director controls everything. As a director should. That's the director's job, is to bring everybody around to their vision and not let each person run off in their own direction and try to think. Because one of the things the director told me very thing is that everybody comes to a set wanting to prove that they know everything. So one of the main tasks of a director is to not allow that and to let your vision prevail and try to get them to follow your vision instead of allowing them to, quote unquote, freak out. Because of course they're talented, of course they're wonderful, of course everything genius and all that, but that genius should fit in your movie, like that should kind of be like one of a piece with your film. It should not stick out like on its own where you're kind of there. So that's, I think, why directors have started becoming more recognized, because they're leaving their fingerprints over films much more than earlier days.
Yeah.
Did that kind of make sense?
Yeah. It's very good, actually.
Yeah, and let's slightly move to the interviews you do. So we are interested to ask these two questions. The first question is, how easy or difficult was it, like, doing interviews for print media and to doing video interviews? This is the first one. And second thing is, like, on the process, it's for a video interview, like there comes the reaction of the guest. So how do you come up with this spontaneous question when the guest slightly starts to veer off in a different tangent?
Okay, so interviews are mentally taxing things. Okay, so what I do is, print. Let's answer your first question. So print media, I'm not a trained journalist. I fancied myself as a writer, but I was perhaps not as good a writer as I thought I was, because I kind of really got knocked into shape when I spent 5 years into the Indian Express, and like that exactly what I told in the earlier answer. No, I was trying to freak out too much, show off too much. That I know these fancy words, and I can string together these lovely sentences, dazzling sentences, alliterations, this, that, and all that. And slowly, like people were slapping me around so hard that I lost all that and understood that writing is actually, there's an elegance to see. Shabana Azmi once told something very interesting. At first, when she started acting, she wanted to show the world that she could act. But only after about 10-15 years, she realized that the more minimal she became, the better she was acting. It takes a while for that realization to happen, because in like initially everybody wants to show like I know everything, or rather you're desperate to impress people. Once that thing goes away, either because you are recognized or because you become more mature in your thinking, that goes away. So what happened in my Express days was I had fantastic editors who helped me learn how to write and helped me learn how to structure interviews and questions. Like I would show them the list of questions, and they'd say things like, structure an interview like a narrative. Don't I mean, you can ask 100 different questions, but there should be some connection, some thread that runs through the whole thing. Otherwise there's no point. Otherwise you're just asking random questions. It's like uh it's like me asking you, hey, nice shirt, where did you get it from? Hey, the curtains behind you are good. Do you like checks? It doesn't make any, like, yeah, okay, in a vague sense, like, maybe there is some curiosity factor, but it doesn't make for a coherent thing into your thought process. So the interview should have a certain thread flowing through it. For example, before Ponniyin Selvan, I was like very nervous when I put together the questions for that Mani Ratnam interview, because I've done that book with him, and he's told most of his process and this and that. In that book, he's explained that. So, like, what do I ask? And then I did a 3-parter with him before Carnival Day or something like that. So it's like, so I'm like, what the hell do I ask? How do I frame these questions in a way that make it? So then I thought, and I said, okay, one of the things is that he's been around for 40 years, and that's not something that many people can claim in Tamil cinema, or it's actually, with the exception of people like Yash Chopra or something like that, it's very rare to find people who survived that long and as a brand. So I said, okay, let's make that the kind of crux of the whole thing and take it off from that. When I say narrative, I don't mean that everything should refer to 40 years or every question should kind of, but that will be the the
core of the interview.
The core of the thing. That will be the pot in which I cook my interview in. That will be, everything will fall into that thing. So that will be the core of the thing. So even when I'm asking like that's what structured it, and that's something that I learned at the Express. It's like how to make your interviews follow a particular. So really, when people tell me, I mean, that I'm a good interviewer today, I completely owe it to my editor at the Express. It's like, because they were the ones who taught me how to write, or rather, structure things, write about narrative, things like that. And also, because I'm a huge reader, I just read so many books of interviews. I don't know if I'm allowed to take my camera around, but one of the things that I have with me here is I don't know if you can see this. Can you see?
Yes.
Yeah. The Rolling Stone.
Yeah, you can see it perfectly.
So it's a book of interviews of musicians, and I kind of keep dipping into it every now and then, because it really helps me. Not because the questions are useful; they are not useful at all, but the way the tonality is very useful for me, because it helps me figure out my tonality for a particular interview. So when it's very satisfying when like, see, for instance, when I interviewed Suri for Vidudalai, again I was a little nervous, because, like, should I lighten the tone? Should I ask him, or be my regular self? Because for me, I think the biggest privilege as an interviewer is to get how somebody undertakes the creative process. That if somebody is able to explain that to me and share that wisdom with me, that's like, wow, that's gold
Yeah.
for me, because that's the greatest privilege. Because the creative process is so fascinating and so unknowable, and to most people it's so difficult to explain in words. They might be able to think it and do it, and but to put it into words is so difficult. And I thought Suri did a fantastic job in explaining like how he did things, like internalized stuff and did things. And I thought that I mean, it's not that I did not think Suri was incapable of that. It's not that. It's more like, should I do this, or should I kind of
Yeah.
lighten it up, or should I keep it the way I usually look at people? And then like the feedback comes and then says, wow, okay, like, so it's nice that you took him seriously as an artist, which is always what I do. Instead of trying to say, oh, Suri, so let's add some random comedy or whatever it is, because that's insulting. And
Yeah.
I think the reason also is that I think one of the things that you need to do as an interviewer is put people in a safe place where they know that you're not going to dig into something which they're uncomfortable, uh, getting into. You're not going to trick them. You're not going to trap them. You're not going to ask them Vijay Ajit questions. You're not going to ask them, or even if you do ask them Vijay Ajit questions, it will be in the context of something like I did with the Murugadas interview recently, where I asked him,
Yeah.
well, one time you did plan to do this. Do you think such a thing is possible now? As opposed to, like, when do you think you're going to do your next Vijay movie, or when do you think you're going to do your next Ajit movie? Which is like, that's just like a fan question. And I feel that when I'm interviewing somebody, I need to respect that person and not try to use that person to talk about other people. And I
Yeah.
think that's a safe space, and when you put people in that safe space, I think they open up like more. And also because I've been around for so long, I think people know my sensibility.
Yeah.
Like you said, yes, it's a niche sensibility, but at least with that niche, it works. So, it's better that you have people that allow you to do your thing and watch for what you do, than to try to appeal to a larger audience and dilute your brand or whatever it is that you built over the years. If I'm an A center interviewer in cinema terms, then so be it. That's what it is. But at least the A center watches, and that's something that I think is something that's very important to know, because it's very important to know. You won't be able to do good interviews if you go against what interests you about interviewing. Because if let's say you're talking to me and you're trying to make, you are after something particular, you have to be very clear about what is it that interests you about. Are you interested in cinema? Are you interested in this particular person? In which case you will ask him, நீங்க நிறைய நாள் வீட்டுக்கு, I mean, you might have asked Suri, uh, oh, I heard you shot for a lot of days, you didn't go home, was your family angry with you and all that, like, which is a very valid question. I mean, but the thing is, I don't know that I want to go into that zone. Like, I know that there are people who will ask that question and get a good answer, and that will be a very valid insight into thing. But I am only interested primarily in cinema and the cinematic process. So that's how the interviews become thing. The other thing about interviews is they need intense focus, because it's like playing a game of mental tennis. And like, if they throw, you know like if they return your serve at the other end of the court, you've got to be able to run there and then you know catch that ball and toss it back at them, lob it back at them. That's the thing. It's so you have to be very alert. And often, one of the things I find myself doing is, like while somebody's speaking, putting a point in my head saying, okay, I need to return to this point, because that point will not be there in the questions that I prepared, but it would be a damn important, like something that I think will be really interesting to explore. So that's how I think you get a sense of continuity in the interviews, because like you're kind of, either you're taking the lead or you're following the lead. And
Yeah.
about 5 minutes in, what it's going to be. Whether you're the leader or
Taking the leader.
you're the follower.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think once that is established, you pretty much set the thing. See, I know this sounds a little vague and a little pretentious probably, but I I don't like. I hope I'm explaining it properly, because it's really like a question of paying attention. I guess it's a question of
Yeah.
Hmm.
being in focus and paying attention to what the other people says. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, following up from the previous answer, you serve, and sometimes, this return serve is a bit weird, not exactly what you expect. In some interviews, some of the interviewees might just do it for the sake of doing it. Like they wouldn't be, paying full attention, or they wouldn't want to be there. Whereas in some other interviews, some of those interviewees might be overzealous. They might easily cross the line. So how do you manage both these scenarios? You would have come across a lot of these people in both the spectrums. So how do you manage those kind of people?
See, the third thing that interviewer needs to be is also they need to be a good. They need to steer the conversation. So if somebody goes too much this side or that side, you also have to be, wow, that's really interesting. But again, coming back to my original question, what about that? So you kind of reset the, like the terms of what's happening. So that way you're kind of getting back. So you're getting an aside and you're saying, wow, that's so nice to hear, and it's really fascinating. But like, by the way, coming back to my original question, like, how did you do that? So I think that's something that you have to kind of do to kind of bring it back to where you want it to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise you'll be like it'll be like one free flowing thing that nothing will happen about, uh but then again, uh the one was the overzealous type. What is the other one?
The ones
The
who just
person
do
who
it for the
doesn't
sake
speak
of it.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a genuine risk, because a lot of the time when somebody's giving 60, 70 interviews or something like that,
Yeah.
they genuinely lose interest. But then again, if they know that they are going to be taken seriously, and the person at the other end is genuinely interested in what they have to say, then I think they open up. Like last year end, I think we got the only interview with Hrithik Roshan, and
Yes.
he really opened up about how he thought his earlier performances were like over the top, and how he's gradually realized to kind of tone down and calm down and stuff like that, which can only happen if that person feels like comfortable, putting it out there. Of course they have to want to say that, but the fact that they want to say it in this interview means that th- that that safe space has been kind of created.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that beyond that, it's also like, one is that you are creating that safe space at that moment, but also with your interviews over the years, they probably know that you're this kind of interviewer.
Yeah.
So there is also a safe space that's been established over the years, in addition to what you're doing at that particular moment.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is, right? See, and see, for example, you're asking me a question, and I'm giving you an answer, right? Now, I know you're taking this interview seriously because you're kind of taking off from that, like you took off on my tennis analogy and kind of a thing. So I know you're listening. So I know that you're listening, and you're kind of you're kind of trying to build your own, how do I put it? Like I said, a focus for the interview, right? Like this is the
Yeah.
core of the interview. Now once I know that, I know that I'm going to think. Whereas if somebody asks me, so how did you come from engineering to film criticism or whatever it is, I'll give an answer. But I've given that answer so many times that I'll probably give it in 3 lines now. Earlier, I'd probably give it in 25 lines. Now I'll probably give it in
Yeah.
3 lines, because I'm like, okay, I don't know what else is there to say, because there's tons of interviews out there which detail this journey or whatever it is. So what do you do?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now let's move on to your favorite movie genres. Let's talk about masala movies. So we are in an era, like we can see that there is a drought for masala movies. Like even let's say filmmakers often make this mistake for masala, and try to make off-bake attempts that doesn't seem appealing for the audience. There seem to be a lack of conviction in making this masala movies. This has become a huge issue in India, in the cinema, as we know. So what's actually wrong here? For a masala movie to come good, everything has to come together good and come at a certain pace. So what's the wrong thing? Is it the writing level? Is it during the filmmaking, or is it the editing pattern itself?
No, it's everything starts at the writing level. So that's the whole problem that happens. Uh, see, like for example, one of my all-time favorite films is in terms of entertainment value and in terms of the script, and of course in terms of songs and everything else is Kudir in the Koil, which is an MGR double role movie where he plays a good guy and a bad guy. It's directed by Shankar and K. Shankar, the older Shankar, and and uh, and it's a fantastic example, a template, if you will, of what it's taken from this Hindi movie called Chinatown, where Shami Kapoor played that double role, and it's a fantastic template uh, of what a like a masala movie is, because you have see everything that an audience wants, which is hero heroine should do romance, the hero and villain should fight, something should happen. It's one of those classic twin separated at birth stories. It's like it's the thing. Uh, it comes together with such conviction. They lack conviction today. That is the thing. They're afraid because they're so afraid of the audience, because the cost of production has become so high, and mainly because of the monies that are being paid to the stars and the technicians, that people are scared to they don't have any, they think more in hindsight than they think about what it is. They think about, will the audience like this, will the audience like that, kind of a thing. So it's like that is always the enemy of any kind of art. So it's like we see masala movies are in our blood, because we grow up with masala epics like Ramayana and Mahabharata and all that, where there's full on mother drama, mother sentiment, something else is happening, love is happening, something else is happening, everything is happening. You look, pretty much everything is there. But whereas which is why we are able to accept like one guy beating up 20 guys, whereas in Hollywood, one guy can beat up 20 guys only after he's been bitten by a radioactive spider. So they need a cause for the man to turn superhuman. Whereas here, we've grown up with those stories where, like Ghatot Kacha is like, does one swipe of the arm or something like that, and like, like 100 Kauravas are vanquished or something like that. So it's like we grow up with that imagery in mind. So we don't really like have a problem with that, but the context of those stories are so beautifully rooted. So I'm saying that we've lost that conviction in telling people. And the other major thing about writing is that writing takes time. And most directors are in such a hurry that they kind of run like mad, because the hero is given dates or something like that, and they have to finish the film in a particular time, and then they try to fix the movie at the editing table. And when that happens, you're in real trouble, because what is not in the screenplay can only be fixed to a certain extent in the at the editing table. And why? And if you keep on improvising on the set, because you haven't been able to complete your screenplay and you're scribbling away during the night or something like that. See, one thing about writing is your first impulse is not always the best thing. It's like, it's all the obvious things that come to the surface first. You have to get rid of all that crap, and only then does the really good stuff come out. But here, when you're in such a hurry, there's often that the crap is what comes out. And then you film all that stuff, and then you're like left at the editing table, a lot of footage, and then you're trying to make it look less crap. And then, then you're really facing a problem. It's because you don't have that conviction that a larger than life moment can actually work, but it has to be scripted in that way.
Yeah.
Like Rangasthalam, if you look at it, it's
Yeah.
like it's got awesome moments, because it's scripted with such conviction. Like take that RRR, by that first fight of Ramcharan, by no means of any imagination is that even possible. But you buy it. You buy the whole thing because Rajamouli's conviction is there in every frame. The way they shoot it is like this can really happen. That this one guy can actually brave through those, I don't know, thousands and thousands of people and climb on top of that place. It's like that's the kind of conviction a person needs to have, so that you're giving this larger than life moment, but you're also making it convincing. And that conviction is what is missing in a lot of our filmmakers today.
Yeah. And as you've already talked about writing, I wanted to touch upon a topic that not very many people might know of, Kadal to Kalyanam. Yeah, you co-wrote this movie along with Milind Rao. I mean, unfortunately, it never saw the light, but the songs were awesome. I mean, I still listen to some of those songs.
How nice. Yuvan should be so happy with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that you could shed some light into how you approached writing for that movie.
So, Kadal to Kalyanam was a complete experiment. It's like the acting stuff today, right? It's like people are asking me, so I'm doing it just to see if I can do it, and just to put myself inside a film set, because for me it's very fascinating how films are made, right? So when Milind asked me to write this with him, I saw it as like, okay, can I do this? That was my main question. And the only way to find out if you can do something is to see, like, put yourself into it and put yourself through the process and see if you can do it. So that was my main thing. And then I found out that yes, I could do it. Like I could write moments, and then I also was able to find out like what my strengths and weaknesses were in terms of uh as a screenwriter, in the sense that I'm very good with individual scenes, but I'm less good with the overall narrative, which is why it helped that Milind is very good with the overall narrative. And so like it would help me to dig deep into scenes and characters and dialogues and stuff like that. Whereas like Milind would be able to say, no, this scene is not working because scene 18 has this, and then like this is scene 9 cannot be like this or whatever it is. So that keeping track of the overall thing is something that I'm not very good at, because I tend to go so deep into the characters of the situation. But that's why I like writing for, like, I'm writing a screenplay right now for a filmmaker, and I think I'm enjoying the process because I'm the only writer.
Yeah.
And I think in the future, if I write more screenplays, that's the way I'd like it to be. I don't want to co-write anymore. I get a story or an outline from a person, or I do it myself, and then I develop it. See, because the thing is, whether you like it or not, the director is a second screenwriter. A director is a second photographer. A director is a second music director. A director is a second editor, costume designer, everything. And without the director's approval, nothing gets done, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, so in a way, the director is shaping the screenplay. But I like this approach where I write 5 scenes, show to this person, and then that person says yes, no, maybe, and I'm able to surprise them instead of constantly sitting with them and writing. In which way, like, there's always a bit of pressure, and the rhythm for me goes for a toss, because writing for me is still, I think, a solitary process, and I'm not too keen on having somebody else in the room while that happens. Yeah.
And continuing on. Yeah. Sorry.
No, sorry. Have I answered your Kadal to Kalyanam question? I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. On the same lines, you also wrote Kalki, which is there on Netflix. So I just
is
want
it
to
still
know.
There? I think it's no longer there. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it was on Netflix. Yeah.
It was Netflix. Yeah. How did this opportunity come from, and did this approach change from Kadal to Kalyanam, because that was a full length and this was a short movie? And also part of the previous question which Bala asked, how did you write songs into your script? How was that process?
Writing songs is actually a fun thing because you're kind of looking for. Kadal to Kalanam was easy to fit songs into because it's a rom-com. Uh, and like one of the things that I'm very like co-proud about with Milan is that we created a heroine that who wasn't simply going to drop everything and be with the hero. She had a very demanding and successful career, and she kind of like she wanted that, and she wanted the romance with the hero. That was kind of one of the things that we really were very proud about when that happened. That we wanted to kind of you know break that stereotype of the heroine means she's like doe-eyed and she likes she takes helps a blind man across the road and the hero falls in love with her, or she takes school children across the road and the hero falls in love with her, kind of thing. It's like we wanted her to be like pretty hard nosed and yet soft, and that was something that was there. But when the softer moments came, they allowed themselves for the songs. And we pretty much know that, though today I would not write it like that, because today the way I evaluate songs has also, or rather the way I respond to songs has changed a lot. Because that time there was no YouTube. So you kind of enjoyed watching 5 songs in a movie. But now when you've already seen the songs a number of times on YouTube or listened to it, the appeal of it in the movie kind of goes down,
Hmm.
because you're seeing it with the visuals most of the time. So the appeal of it goes down, and also I feel that very few people know how to like I think I've also become a little like ADD that way, in that unless a song really takes the movie forward,
Hmm.
I don't know that I want to watch that song on screen.
Hmm.
Now if it's a like a general dance song and it's a well choreographed dance, then that's fun. That's fun to watch. It's good. But those other songs, which earlier was supposed to uh like show that the hero and heroine are in love or falling in love or something. Earlier, if I wrote a space for a 4-minute song, today I would probably write 2 extra scenes for the hero and heroine to kind of establish the same thing than to just leave it to a song.
Hmm.
I would probably have like fewer songs is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So just wanted to
And
add.
Kalki,
Yeah.
that again came about because Dilip asked me to give a shot at the screenplay. Dilip, who so he kind of did Mara, yeah. So he did that, and I had a lot of fun writing that because the format was new, the concept was nice. I thought we did an okay-ish job. It was kind of fun to kind of figure out the loops of the thing, and I particularly liked the ending. I thought that was a kind of a like a cool thing that happened. Though I think there are see every time you write and you watch what you've written, there's always something that you feel you'd written differently or done differently or something like that. But that's part of the process, right? It's like you do what you can at that moment, and then you have the rest of your life to look back and regret. I think that's the
Yeah.